Swore I'd never cross a county line, but here I am, suit and whiskey spine. Park outside the chapel door, same old bench, same cold tile floor. They say he died in his sleep last week, but small towns always twist what they speak. I came to mourn, but let's be clear, I knew some ghosts would gather here. They don't just bury the man today, they bury truths we all betrayed. I'm back in town for the wrong reasons, not for faith, not for seasons, but to see who'd show and how they cry, to count the lies we left to die. I wore black but brought my sins to the wake where it begins again. Yeah, I came to grieve but stayed for treason. I'm back in town for the wrong reasons. Saw her in the back with tear-stained pride, first girl I kissed on the 4th of July. Her eyes said, you ain't changed a bit. Mine said, you're the one I still regret. Then I caught a glance from ex to blonde, still wild and dangerous too. She smirked like we were back in bed. I felt the heat in the words unsaid. You think a funeral cools old fire, but some ashes still conspire. I'm not here just for the man they lost, I'm here to pay emotional cost, count the hearts that bled for me, and sip regrets and black coffee. So light the candle, sing the hymn, but don't ask why I walk back in. I came with grief and guilty reasons. Yeah, I'm back in town for the wrong reasons. It's funny how death draws a crowd of people too proud, too broken, too loud. So I'll take a seat and purify and smile at every tear-filled lie. You bury bodies, not what we've done. I brought my past to face someone, one casket down for hearts still pleasing. Yeah, I'm back in town for the wrong reasons.
She walked in like a hurricane hush, red heels clicking, stirring dust. The preacher blinked, the ushers froze. You'd think they'd seen a ghost in rows. Second row pew, she sat like sin, wore the same dress I met her in. Didn't cry, didn't pray, just crossed her legs and looked my way. And in that silence, cold and dire, her lipstick sang louder than the choir. While they sang Amazing Grace, she wore rebellion on her face. Red like rage, red like wine, red like the night she once was mine. The organ moaned but couldn't compete with the way she made heartbreak sweet. She didn't speak, but she lit a fire. Her lipstick was louder than the choir. 3 Rose back, my mama gasps that that girl's got no shame, no past. But she don't know the midnight call where I begged that girl to take it all. She winked when the casket passed, like every vow was just for laughs. And while the preacher quoted grace, she painted war across her face. They preached peace and rest in days, she preached pain in silent ways. No hymn could drown her bold red line, no scripture softened her design. She didn't sob or shake or fold, she told her truth in crimson bold. The choir sang, but she was higher, that lipstick screamed beyond the lyre. No words, no tears, just pure satire. Her lipstick was louder than the choir. And maybe grief comes dressed in red when you've cried all your tears instead. So let them judge, let whispers run. She buried more than anyone. And when I think of what we had, I taste that red, both sweet and bad. No eulogy could match her fire. Her lipstick was louder than the choir. There's a bench out back of the funeral hall where boys carve names and girls let fall secrets in the smoke of July haze, and love that only small towns praise. I sat there once with her and her two hearts I swore I'd never stir. But truth don't bloom where charm resides, and that bench remembers how we lied. The wood still holds our fingerprints of lust and guilt and innocence. That's the bench where three of us lied, where promises curled up and died, where I held two hands and meant none right, and kissed one girl beneath moonlight. Splinters echo what we deny, that hearts don't break, they multiply. And though we smiled and swore with pride, that bench knows three of us lied. One came back with tears and grace, the other with a steel poker face. They passed each other by the door and didn't speak of nights before, but both looked out at that old seat like memory pulled them by the feet. And I just watched unsure, ashamed of how I branded both their names. They didn't fight, they didn't cry, but silence says more than goodbye. That's the bench where youth got bold, where truth got sold and lies got gold, where I chased fire and played with wind and lost the one I should have pinned. Now both are gone, but that wood's tight, still holding echoes from that night. The town may change, the paint may slide, but that bench knows three of us lied. Truth still carves beneath the grind. So if you sit where we once stayed, you'll feel the weight of what we played. The laughs, the lies, the tangled pride. The bench remembers what we denied.
collar like a blade, voice like gravel, spine like shade. Said he came to preach, not to pry, but he glanced my way with a funeral eye. Folks leaned in as he took the stand, holding grief like a trembling hand. But the sermon strayed and hearts grew cold when he opened wounds we left untold. And I knew right then from the way he stared that this goodbye was double dared. Her daddy read my name from the pulpit, not in prayer but like a verdict read. He said, some men leave more than tracks, and graves don't take what guilt brings back. He spoke of sin in pointed tone like he was carving stone on bone. No need to shout, no fiery script. Her daddy read my name from the pulpit. I dated his girl at 17, taught her whiskey, painted her clean. He caught us once behind the shed and prayed the devil from my head. Now she's gone, her ring's still dull. Our heart once soft, now hard and null. And he's still holding her like glass, preach judgment cloaked in Sunday mass. I felt each syllable like flame when he dressed his sermon in my name. He said the Lord forgives, but I remember like autumn keeps the taste of ember. He didn't raise his voice or curse, but silence made his judgment worse. So I bowed low and clenched my jaw while Pew stood still, bound by law. That cross behind felt like a whip when her daddy read my name from the pulpit. And maybe I deserve that stain for loving her and leaving pain. So bury her and let peace stay, but I'll be judged till judgment day, not by the town but by that script her daddy written my name from the pulpit.
It was the harvest fair of '99, potluck pies and boxed red wine. The preacher's kid snuck in a tape, and we spun slow, neat, cheap Creek drape. Her dress was plain, but eyes like fire. We moved like sin in gospel choir. No one watched, or maybe they did, but we were young and shame was hid. No disco ball, no grand parade, just memories time couldn't fade. We danced once in a church basement where whispers hummed in sweet displacement. Our hands were shy, our breaths unsure, but
diner hadn't changed a bit. Same waitress, same torn leather pit. I met each ex across that booth, each one sipping bitter truth. The funeral over, dresses tight, mascara faded with the night. We didn't fight, just talked too soft, like secrets hanging from a loft. They all took turns to pour the blame, while I just stirred my shame with shame. 4 coffees, no closure, no warm goodbye, no final composure. Just half-truths spilled in half-lit light, where grief and guilt held hands all night. We drank old wounds with shaky hands and tried to map our one-night stands. No justice, no white flag exposure, just 4 coffees and no closure. She said you could have stayed, you know. Another said you reap what you don't sow. The third just laughed and raised her cup. The last said you were never enough. I smiled through burns, I sipped my sins, like penance paid with sugar spins. And when the bill came, no one moved. We'd said too much, yet nothing proved. Some hearts don't need a second trial, just one more sip, and then denial. 4 coffees, none were sweet, just memories spilled at vinyl seat. We didn't hug, we didn't scream, just buried love without a dream. No peace, no fire, no final boast, just steam rising like a ghost. A love that once was full of closure, now just 4 coffees and no closure. If healing's found in letting go, then why do I still move so slow? The cups are gone, the booth is bare, but echoes hang like ghosts in air. So don't say time will make it sober. I just left with no closure.
Never stepped into the pews, no velvet seat, no borrowed shoes. She stood where no hymn dared to go, by the soda machine, quiet and low. No flowers in her trembling hand, just a tissue crumpled like old plans. The other side where candles burn, she cried where silence never turned. Grief don't need the preacher's lines, it finds its place between the signs. She cried in the hallway, not the chapel, where tears fall soft and don't unravel, where no one asked to read the verse, where sorrow isn't dressed rehearsed. Her sobs were all not staged or clean, beside a cross on a vending machine. The pews were full, the altar tall, but she cried behind it all. We met eyes by the restroom light. She smiled like she lost a fight,
Said I thought I'd be stronger now. I said you are just not allowed. She hugged herself, not me, not him, not the ghost who filled the gym. But I could tell her world gave in, right where the chapel walls grow thin. No stained glass for that kind of pain. Just how floors and water stain. She cried where no one comes to preach, where comfort's just beyond your reach, where no one sings but hearts still scream, where grief don't match the funeral theme. She didn't bail, she didn't kneel, but hers was the most honest feel. No spotlight, no choral call, just her crying down the hall. Baby, real love don't need seats, just quiet corners and retreat. So let the chapel have its show, with polished grief and practice flow. But the truest tears I ever saw were shed outside the sacred law by a girl who once had it all. She cried in the hallway, not the chapel.
X1 had a lawyer in tow. X2 brought some guy I don't know. X3 came arm in arm with Fate, and 4, yeah, she just showed up late. Each had a shoulder fresh and new to lean on while the preacher blew. But I came solo, sharp and raw, watching them kiss what once I saw. It's strange how death invites parade, a better now in dress and braid. They all brought someone else to hold the hands I once held myself, to prove they've healed, to show they've grown, while I stood there just skin and bone. They smiled like they won some race, like love had changed, found a better place, while I just drank regret and dwelt. They all brought someone else. I heard one laugh in the chapel rear, and felt my gut twist into fear. The kind that knows you've been replaced, not just in heart, but now in taste. They introduced them like defense, like I was guilt in past tense. One even whispered near my side, don't worry, he knows how I cried. They didn't need me to forgive, just to see how they now live. They all came dressed in new affection, new men, new arms, new protection, while I came dressed in silent blame, a walking grave without a name. And as they kissed by candle shelf, I saw my love rewrapped in someone else, like photos flipped and memories shelved. They all brought someone else. Maybe that's grief too, being replaced by peace that's wearing your old face. So let them smile, let them move on, let their new men think they've won. But deep beneath this bitter shell, I still recall where heartbreak fell. And while they danced with someone else, I stood there haunted by myself. Way. always grinned like he knew more, a crooked smile behind each door. Never married, never cried, but rumors said he once had lied. Whispers circled all our youth, that he'll pain or maybe truth, but no one pressed and he just laughed, like life itself was just a craft. And now he's 6 feet down and still in charge, leaving us stories extra large. The secret he took to the grave still dances in the dark we crave. Was it love or crime or name? We'll never know who lit that flame. We stare at dirt like it might speak, but it just holds what we all seek. Some mysteries die the way they behave, like the secret he took to the grave. One ex says he knew her tears, another swears he hid her fears. One claims he held a will unsigned, the other says he lost his mind. The preacher said he made amends, but none of us were ever friends. And still we circle like moth to fire, trying to feed what won't expire. He held his truth like a loaded gun. Now it's buried and we're undone. The secret that he wore so well now rests beneath a hollow shell. We search his eyes in printed frame, but black and white won't name the blame. He smiled through storms, through fights, through fate, but left us all to speculate. No tombstone line, no clue to save, just the secret he took to the grave. Some men speak loud, some whisper bold, and some just let the dirt take hold. So here we stand with nothing new, still chasing ghosts we never knew. And as the wind begins to wave, we curse the secret he took to the grave. Everyone hoped for gold or land, a name on deeds, a final stand, but the will came read, and clear as day, he left his truck, and that's okay. Rust on wheels and beer can floor, a crack in glass, a dented door, but damn if that old Ford don't hum like memory on the verge of numb. They all scoffed and rolled their eyes, but I heard gears and southern skies. He left the truck to me, not the house or the property, not the safe or antique clock, just 4-ball tires and talk. But I'll drive down that county line where he once swore the stars were mine. No gold, no big decree, just a truck
roasted in the grave. He wasn't much for gifts or grace, but left a home in that cab space. He left the truck to me, where grief could drive and tears run free. No ribbon bow, no final speech, just leather torn and gear stick reach. I let the road replay our song and take the turns he drove so wrong. No legacy, no family tree, just a truck and me. And when I pass that red clay band, I'll know where sorrow learns to mend. So let them fight for corns and land. I'll grip this wheel with calloused hand. He gave me more than memory. He left the truck to me. I counted rings in trembling hands, old oats like scars in wedding bands. 3 of us stood by the punching glass, all married once, all doomed to pass. We smiled through teeth that bit through years, pretending joy, digesting fears. We clinked our cups in mock salute to all the love we failed to lose. The air grew thick with what we'd swore and what we'd walked away from before. Too many vows in one room, too many brides in borrowed gloom, too many grooms with broken ties, too many truths in alibi. We once said always meant it to, then came the drift, the turn, the root. Now gathered here in black perfume, too many vows in one room. X3 wore pearls like nothing cracked, X1 wore red, her rebel pact, X4 just nodded from her chair, like every promise hung midair. We toasted loss like some parade, and laughed at every vow we made. The preacher's voice rang overhead, but all we heard were words we said. It's hard to kneel when knees recall each time we rose to let love fall. Too many vows wrapped in regret, too many nights we can't forget, too many church bells out of tune, too many lies beneath the moon. We signed in ink, we kissed in rain, but all it wrote was old refrain. Now funeral flowers barely bloom with too many vows in one room. They say love lives in holy halls, but it also hides in bathroom stalls. And pray these ghosts don't linger long, but don't expect much peace or bloom with too many vows in one room. Small town chapel, slow church bell. 4 girls I kissed, one final farewell. I didn't expect all 4 to come, and Lord knows I wish I'd stayed numb. They walked in like a Broadway show, each one with a past I know. One with fire, one with grace, one still wore pain on her face. And there I sat, tie crooked tight, trying not to relive each night. One funeral, 4 exes, and a song where every rite felt somehow wrong. The preacher spoke, the choir wept, while I recall the hearts I kept. They looked at me like thundered skies, each verse a flash of old goodbyes. And though the dead were meant to belong, it was us still playing the song. We all hugged like strangers do, pretending none of it was true. But her perfume hit like a blade, and I heard the chords our silence played. One ex whispered, "You still feel?" Another asked, "Was any real?" I smiled like sin in borrowed black, knowing there's no going back. We buried him, not what we wrote. Our verses still stuck in our throat. One funeral, 4 exes, and a song of memories too loud, too long. We didn't mourn just the man below, but all the love we let outgrow. Each chorus felt like judgment sung for every kiss that came undone. No clean goodbye, no place we belong, just 4 old flames and one song. And maybe grief ain't death alone, but the weight of things we've never known. So here's to truths we won't reclaim, and small town love without a name. A soundtrack carved in pain prolonged. One funeral, 4 exes, and a song.
It hung for years in plastic wrap, a cream white dream in bedroom trap. She said she'd wear it when the time came right, but time had ran off in the night. Her mama dusted it every spring, like hope was stitched into that thing. But the man she loved left in July and never came back to testify. Now that dress just hangs like breathless ghosts among old hymns and wedding toasts. It's the dress she never wore, now folded in a closet drawer. No aisle, no kiss, no rice parade, just silent lace and love decayed. It waited through the years, then cried when she got sick, when hope had died. It whispers still through bedroom floor, the dress she never wore. We found it weeks after she passed, next to a note that couldn't last. Some dreams just ain't made to be. She wrote it soft and signed it me. I held it close like holding her. That satin still could make me stir, but all it did was fit the wrong. A symphony with no wedding song. We buried her in Sunday blues, but that white dress still sings the news. The dress she never wore still haunts behind that wooden door. No photos framed, no vows confessed, just folded dreams and stitched unrest. It could have danced, it could have flown, but now it chills the drawer alone and says more than her voice ever swore. That dress she never wore. Sometimes is measured best by empty gowns that never rest. So here's to gowns that held their breath, to silent oaths and quiet death, to all the might have beens that tore like the dress she never wore. Stood outside when the sky turned gray, the preacher gone, the crowd away. No umbrellas, no polite goodbyes, just two soaked hearts and tired lies. She looked at me like I still knew the version of her love that grew before the years, before the shame, before we traded vows for blame. We shared a silence sharp and raw, like words afraid to risk the law. It was the last song before the rain, before we drowned. It might have been pain. One final verse we didn't sing, a broken note with no gold ring. The thunder rolled, we didn't run, we just stood there both undone, letting the truth pour down like blame. That last song before the rain. She said I never stopped the ache, I said we both made our mistake. She smiled like she forgave me first, then lightning cracked and made it worse. She held my hand just for a beat before the flood beneath our feet, and in that touch so small, so brief, I felt both love and full relief. Some stories end not with good night, but with two hearts too tired to fight. It was the last song, soft and torn, no piano, no rose to mourn, just storm clouds and a porch light glow to mark the love we let go slow. She didn't cry, I didn't plead, we let the rain play in every seed of what we lost and couldn't reclaim. That last song before the rain. The hardest songs are left unsung, where thunder ends what we've begun. So if you ask where we went wrong, it ended in a silent song. Just wind, just water, no refrain, just the last song